This is America. We call it the land of the free, but what happens when you don't feel free at all? Today, we're exploring that question by speaking with people forced into hiding under Donald Trump's mass deportation policies, giving voices to those who often have to whisper their stories. We had to blur many faces to make people feel safe talking to us.
There's an exception to freedom of all. The fact that I can't really do average things as other people, I feel very secluded, very in this box that I have no say.
We talk about freedom like it's automatic, but for millions of people, it's conditional. Today, we hear from some of those very people.
The risk of being taken away and not being able to talk to my family and just never seeing them again, or just being sent back and leaving everything I've ever built here and just having to restart my whole life in a country where I know there's not much I can do to improve my lifestyle,
We hear from some people who don't have any other home other than in America and whose very lives are at risk.
Narcos are involved with my family, and that just I can't even go where I'm from because of my last name.
I obviously don't want to go back to Mexico because I don't know anything from there.
People who have built lives for themselves and their families in America now live with the fear of losing it all.
My parents have saved up enough for a house and cars, and they have money that they want to invest in houses, and if we were detained and sent back to Brazil, then we would be very lost and not really, and just be stuck in trying to figure out, we'd just be stuck. There'd really be nothing much to do except try to survive.
I think it's really important that Americans show up for their community these days. These are the very early stages of a highly illegal fascist coup.
Because I'm pissed off. This doesn't make sense. I don't understand why we're allowing people to be kidnapped. No matter who you are, undocumented, doesn't matter. If you are a human being, you should never be treated in that way, especially by law enforcement.
Who do you serve? Who do you protect? Who do you serve? Who do you protect?
This is the story of how America has turned on its people, not only betraying the ones who have chosen to be citizens, but also the people born on American land, simply exercising their Fourth Amendment rights.
We're just, protesting with words, and when I look up, I couldn't find, my girlfriend who I came here with, and then finally, it calms down a little bit, and I look over and I see her being escorted away after being beaten by wooden batons and pushed around by, people with, military equipment.
With new police initiatives to support ICE.
This area already has a tiny police force, and the chief is literally bringing everyone here to help ICE.
And a clear violation of the constitutional rights.
Batons? They hit you with a baton?
They push.
We're in a new dawn of America where we can't trust our government, where people have to live in fear of being kidnapped and are forced into silence and captivity. We sat down with real people to find out the answer to one question. What does freedom mean when you're afraid to be seen? This is Chicago on ICE. We start out by asking, what does day-to-day life feel like when the government becomes something to fear?
I can't really go out that much. Honestly, it's very difficult. I just stay at home just to keep myself safe. So it's just been me and my brother trying to pay for an apartment we can't even afford. On the weekends, I go with my boyfriend to work. A lot is tight, money is tight, so we just try to get as much as we can possible in between Saturday and Sunday.
When your everyday life is a battle for freedom, it doesn't leave many options for those who are simply trying to make a living.
There's not many jobs available, especially not with my status, so my parents haven't had too much work either.
The fear. the fact that I can't really do average things and as other people. I feel very secluded, very in this like box that I have no saying.
That fear, per se, it's a fear of being separated from your loved ones, of not being in control of your own fate, falsely being held prisoner for simply trying to survive.
I wake up, watch the news, just staying home, stay inside pretty much. I don't really go out now. Just stay inside for season.
My worries are that my closest coworker or my boss were to be, or my parents mainly were to be taken and I wouldn't know about it or be able to do anything or have to take care of my little sister.
I don't want to be put in a detention center. I don't want to be put in a little box. It feels like I'm being restrained or just being human and living life, and it kind of sucks. But I'm afraid that they're going to have me in a detention center for months without knowing anything or what's going to happen with my case.
How does one survive in this military state? By always being prepared, always staying on their toes, and taking caution around every corner.
I wake up at 4:30 a.m. I get ready, I get on, I walk to my metro station, I take the metro to Chicago, I take a bus to my job, and I clock in at around 5:50, 6 a.m. And then I clean and upkeep that store until around maybe 8. And then I'll usually take the transportation back home as well. I try not to sit around Chicago too much.
I try to plan ahead as much as I can. What happens if this? Okay, well, here's the plan. Try to be 2 steps ahead of everything. Always 2 steps ahead of everything.
Why take all this precaution? Because you never know when ICE will strike or how close to home they might be.
My neighbor. I woke up, there's a lot of commotion out, and I look outside my window and we see agents, and they're arresting him and taking him inside to a car. And I had to roll my way, which is not see it. Honestly, I thought I was next, So witnessing that was pretty traumatizing.
The risk of being taken away and not being able to talk to my family and just never seeing them again, or just being sent back and leaving everything I've ever built here and just having to restart my whole life in a country where I know there's not much I can do to improve my lifestyle,
For those who have built their lives in the US, the greatest struggle isn't just the fear imposed by the government, it's the feeling that no one in power truly cares about their well-being. The American government has betrayed its people by disregarding the very constitutional rights this country was founded upon.
Narcos are involved with my family, and that just I can't even go where I'm from because of my last name.
Not only has the American government violated its moral duty, but the constitutional promise of due process and equal protections, rights guaranteed to all people, not just citizens.
If we were detained, we'd lose a lot of the savings and things we've built like our whole lives, Like my parents have saved up enough for a house and cars, and they have money that they want to invest in houses. And if we were detained and sent back to Brazil, then we would probably be very lost and not really, and just be stuck in trying to figure out, we'd just be stuck. There'd really be nothing much to do except try to survive.
Something that's clearly a violation of basic human rights. The failure to consider a person's life, their circumstances, and their contributions, all dismissed without a second thought.
I came to America when I was 3. I obviously don't want to go back to Mexico because I don't know anything from there. It would probably mean that we'd have to start a whole new life again somewhere.
My parents, they wanted to give me a opportunity in life, and they wanted me to be able to study and get a better job and build a future for myself.
It's a slap in the face to everyone who believed in the American dream. People who came here simply trying to give their families a shot at something better.
They've just been the base of everything, and they fight for a lot so I can have like the best quality of life possible.
They sacrificed everything to be here, only to be recasted as villains in a story they never wrote. That's how Donald Trump justifies these mass kidnappings, with racially biased propaganda that feels like it belongs in the early 1900s.
People think that we are stealing jobs or just taking money away from the government, or that we are living a life as if we were American and that we're just taking.
That I'm here to take their jobs, or that like I'm a criminal.
I mean, in reality, we do the jobs that no one really wants to do. We work a lot more than a normal person does.
The lies that are told to the American people that law enforcement uses as motivators to continue to push these outdated agendas.
I have a clean background, never gotten arrested, so.
And people kind of already judge me in a way. I'm trans, so that's like even adding more onto the judging of an immigrant. Oh, they're criminals, they're lazy, they're this, they don't work hard.
Things feel extreme for our fellow residents of America.
I just find it very ridiculous, very crazy that this is the stage we're in right now. But America has that whole thing of freedom and liberty for all, but that's not where it does not feel that way. There's exception to freedom of all. Certain people have it. Certain people get to live that. Other people have to kind of live in a box and kind of stay not quiet, but you try to say something, it comes off as complaining.
It's a heartbreaking reality that America, once called the land of the free and the home of dreams, now feels more like a dictatorship wrapped in a fairy tale that no longer exists. Millions of Americans are having their voices silenced. Some see this as a call to action, to rise up and stand up for those being pushed into the shadows.
I'm pissed off. This doesn't make sense. I don't understand why we're allowing people to be kidnapped. I don't understand why Trump has taken over and dictated the laws to be what they are. I don't understand why there are no laws anymore. I don't understand why not more people are pissed off. Just because it's not affecting you specifically doesn't mean you shouldn't be pissed.
Welcome to Broadview, home of ICE's primary processing center in Illinois, a place where people are detained, questioned, and often deported before they ever see a judge. It's also home to one of Illinois' largest and most frequent protests against ICE enforcement, where weekly demonstrations of brutality and mass arrests have become the new normal. It's a place where, throughout the day, unmarked vans and ICE vehicles slip in one after another, their darkened windows hiding the people detained. You never see who's inside, but you feel it. Every time they roll in, the crowd boos. Not just at the van, but at the system that lets this happen. The tension cuts through the air. You know there are real people in there.
They're abducting people, they're kidnapping people, and they're deporting them for no reason. What's happening is not okay, and that's why I think there's a huge group here. I mean, even if you look around, a lot of the people think the same way.
We cannot let these things stand, and it is up to every single one of us, all 350 Americans, to put our foot down and say no. This is not tolerable. We will not accept it.
Nobody is illegal on stolen land.
Right.
Americans standing up for one another, fighting for those being suppressed, forced in the unknown.
Community is the answer. People standing up for, showing up for each other, not letting Nazis walk onto your streets and extrajudicially kidnap people and disappear them for months on time. 1,200 people missing out of Alligator Alcatraz. No lawyer contact, no contact to their families. They may very well be in a mass grave somewhere. We have no idea.
In times like these, it's a call to action for people of all ages to spread awareness.
To work for ICE, men who cannot please their wife.
I've been seeing everything on the news, and it's just horrible. I was really inspired by my community members standing up against the injustice against immigrants and just in general the fascist takeover of our neighborhood.
They're not following the processes that they should, and they're doing it with the hope of provoking terror and fear in communities, I feel. Deportations are a normal thing, and we do have problems with illegal migration, but it doesn't justify what they're doing and to this extent.
The American people are left wondering, whatever happened to due process?
I've been hearing about people getting snatched up at court, going to their normal hearings after a dismissal. It's just crazy. So it's not right.
I saw what was happening in Chicago with the helicopters and the apartment raids at night. I was horrified, and that's why I felt it necessary to start speaking out more. I felt I was being very passive, and I feel very passionately about it, but I wasn't doing anything about it, and seeing that was my call to action.
I think it's really important that Americans show up for their community these days. These are the very early stages of a highly illegal fascist coup.
No matter who you are, undocumented, doesn't matter. If you are a human being, you should never be treated in that way, especially by law enforcement.
Who do you serve? Who do you protect? Who do you serve? Who do you protect?
The very law enforcement that has sworn to serve and protect has turned their backs on the people by not only apprehending the immigrants that help support this country, but by also detaining people innocently protesting, exercising their First Amendment rights.
Down with deportation!
We're just, protesting with words, and when I look up, I couldn't find my girlfriend who I came here with, and then finally, it calms down a little bit, and I look over and I see her being escorted away after being beaten by wooden batons and pushed around by people with military equipment.
Let that sink in. Peaceful protesters being beaten with batons, long guns pointed at civilians, and snipers watching from rooftops. This isn't public safety. This is tactical fearmongering.
They were coming at us, and they had wooden batons and started, hitting us and beating us and pushing us, and we were falling over. It was really violent on their side, and we were arms were linked, just protecting each other.
Cases of officers pushing people around, shoving people unjustly.
It's really bad. It's really bad. And if you don't think it's bad, you're not paying attention, because this is everywhere. I mean, everywhere I go in my neighborhood, I come out here, we're in the suburbs, and this is a huge turnout. People need to know that this is actually very serious, and people are really getting hurt, not just undocumented people, also citizens.
People are scared, and people are afraid, and people are wanting to fight back. And even now, I'm seeing that people are afraid because they're pulling out zip ties, they're pulling out riot gear.
They come out and they just kidnap people for holding signs that they do not like to see. I was here last week and they kidnapped one of us. No warning, they just walked up and snatched them and disappeared them in that building for 8 hours. No warrant, no recompense, no consequences for any of them.
And consequences are really what most protesters are hoping to see.
Quit your fucking job!
Justice for those who have been falsely convicted and for the ones responsible to face penance.
They need to be held accountable. There is no such excuse as I was just following orders. Every single one of these ICE agents knows that their deployment here is illegal.
I hope there's some sort of accountability that happens. I'm not in charge of their sentencing or whatever, but I hope it's the maximum.
I think they should be charged. I think they should be criminally charged.
They cannot pretend that just following orders is sufficient to protect them. They need to face consequences. They should not be allowed to hold guns. They should not be allowed to hold public office. they should face consequences for their actions here.
There's a clear hole in the American justice system at the moment, and it's hard to see the light in these dark times. What is that light, one might ask? It's the uniting of a nation of one another banding together to uphold justice and to hopefully put an end to Trump's mass deportations.
It doesn't matter who you are or how small you think your voice is or how little of a presence you have online. The bystander effect is real, and it starts with one random person just saying, I can do something, I can say something, I can repost, I can spread some awareness. And then when those random people come together, we get protests like these, and we get people coming together, and that's what matters.
It's easy to be numb, it's easy to be afraid, but when we allow ourselves to be angry, then we can actually move forward with movement and with searching for justice. And so we need to stand up, we need to be pissed off, and we need to take up space and make people uncomfortable.
We're like in a rapid descent towards, into authoritarianism, and she really cares deeply about fighting that and isn't comfortable with just like standing aside while, ICE is kidnapping people and profiling people, and then the cops just support them. It's not just, it's not right, and, I think that she'd be back, she'll be back after, she's out, I'm sure, and I think she wants to, me too, and all of us just want more people out here and more people just trying to support the cause.
The sacrifices made by these activists and protesters do not go unnoticed.
I'm very thankful for every American that stands up for people and knows what's going on and wants to do the research and wants to figure out what's really going on and goes out there and actually does something about it.
It means a lot, that people from here are, protesting and spreading awareness, and it does mean a lot, obviously, just because I wish I could do that, but I'm afraid to get detained or anything like that. It just brings it brings like hope. There's hope in people and humanity for sure.
What's happening is just very cruel, and the fact that you can look outside of your own life perspective and be empathetic, I think, of other people, I think that's really beautiful.
But what about those who are supporting immigrants, not from the protest lines, but by opening up doors to help improve their quality of life? This is Julie, a crisis counselor who spends her day-to-day life helping victims of domestic abuse. She joins us today and sheds some light on how Trump's mass deportations has sadly not only fueled domestic violence in households, but has also made her job harder in assisting those who need her help the most.
I am a domestic violence hospital crisis counselor, so I work in a hospital setting. Whenever someone does disclose to me that they do not feel safe, I provide them with any resources that they may want. So when immigration fears are part of the picture, I always start with grounding techniques with each individual. I first, make them present and make them aware, because fear is what really stops any planning from taking place. I make sure that they're okay first, and then I say, okay, safety planning could look like a number of things. We start with their two main places, their job and their home. What police stations can they go to? What organizations can they reach out to for specific aid? I know of certain certain organizations that can help with things like housing, if they need counseling, if they need therapy. And I also inform them of their rights. It doesn't matter what their immigration background is. They have a right to healthcare. They have a right to just basic needs as well. So with safety planning, I help them find any resources that they may need on hand. And then we assess from there. Is there ways that we can be mindful of exit planning, or if there's ways that we can make go bags, things like that. So go bags usually involve things like documentation of anything that they might need, whether they're under DACA, whether they're undocumented fully. It really depends on each individual. Not wanting to leave the home, really just being scared of seeking any type of help of any kind. They may have distrust of authority figures in general, whether it's their professors or their teachers or even their bosses sometimes. A lot of my clients or people who do seek out help to me, they don't want to leave their homes. They feel trapped more than anything. This echoes back to COVID, if anything, when everyone felt like they were on lockdown again. So they often feel trapped and they don't know what to do. A lot of them express hopelessness. A lot of them express that they, even at times, like are even suicidal, or they just feel like criminals. Undocumented people are already a very vulnerable group, right? Because they don't have access to a lot of the things like healthcare or, Medicaid, Medicare, things like that. When they're experiencing domestic violence, there's also the cultural aspect as well, like don't ask, don't tell. You just don't, turn in your abuser sometimes. So with the barriers in mind with the ICE raids, it makes them, one, not being able to leave their house, so they're often stuck with their abuser, and the cycle will often continue. Or they're not able to go to their job to make money, and that also aggravates their abusers as well.
While Julie continues to fight the good fight of supporting immigrants and victims of abuse, the U.S. government continues to make things more and more difficult, denying healthcare and basic rights to the very people that are most vital to the economy.
We pay taxes every year and get none of the benefits at all.
Immigrants are almost the most vital contributors to the U.S. economy, especially in labor, entrepreneurship, tax revenue, and long-term growth. They don't carry the entire economy on their own, but without them, key industries and local economies would collapse or shrink dramatically.
And it's like you look at the statistics of everything that immigrants have done, how much money they pour taxes in every year, and it's like they really ignore all of that and just out of fear, of course, out of fear.
Trump's racially biased mass deportations have shown a shocking disregard for the American economy. Ironic, coming from someone who built his image on business and profit. We took the liberty of breaking things down so you can see exactly how much the economy will be possibly affected due to these kidnappings. In 2024, immigrants comprised about 14.3% of the U.S. population, but their contribution to total economic output was around 18%, roughly $2.1 trillion. Immigrant households paid roughly $579.1 billion in federal, state, and local taxes. That includes about $35.1 billion from undocumented households. To sum that up, immigrant households overall paid nearly 1 in every $6 of tax revenue collected at a federal, state, and local level. Those are some pretty damning numbers, but only account for taxes and spending power. Now let's dive into the labor force. Immigrants make up 17% of the U.S. labor force, filling essential roles in industries like agriculture, construction, healthcare, food services, and tech. On the entrepreneurial side, on average, 1 out of 4 entrepreneurs in the U.S. are immigrants, being nearly twice as likely to start a business compared to native-born individuals. The Congressional Budget Office has even projected that immigration is essential for future U.S. GDP growth, especially as the native-born workforce ages. So with all of this in mind, the question stands, why are these individuals not properly taken care of?
We pay so much in taxes and get no benefits in return. I mean, my mom hurt her arm and we don't have any health insurance or any benefits. I've had to go to the emergency before and $7,000 to pay off.
Comes off as, oh, we are doing so much for you and you want more. And for them it comes off as like, oh, you get free this, you get free that, and you're still complaining?
But you don't get a lot of free stuff, do you?
Oh no, I wish. I don't get no free nothing, no.
Between the mass deportations of the people who are the backbone of our economy and the ICE facilities' lack of regard for the businesses they're disrupting, it's hard to see whose side the government is on. As we come to the end of our program, we want to relay a message of hope, a call to action to help inspire a brighter future, not just for immigrants, but for all of the American people.
Try to understand. A lot of it comes with fear, and that's understandable, but try to push that to the side and try to understand someone. Try not to judge someone for what you've heard, but try to live their life for a day and try to just be understanding, have sympathy.
I didn't ask to be brought here. You know, this is my life, you know. I didn't have no saying to brought here to the U.S. It just kind of happened.
It's a message of loving one another and standing united as people, recognizing everyone as a human who deserves rights.
Some will hear, some will ignore. Some will try to find the understanding in that. Other people will just turn to anger and nope, that's not true. We look at all that we've done for immigrants.
The only difference between you and us is the fact that you were born here. It's just geographical luck. And I'm sure that if you had a family and you were born in a country where there's not much you can do to help your kids have a good life, I'm sure you would try to find opportunities and try to leave and, I mean, even risk your life to come here and give your children and your family a better chance.